Welcome to another episode of Business with Passion. Each show features guests who have transformed their long-term passion into a successful business. I'm your host, Jay Hamilton Roth. My marketing strategy business grew from my love of talking with passionate business owners. In this series, I share their insights with you. Today's episode features guests who are focused on single-mindedness. Dan Chan has performed over 2,000 shows for public and private events around the world. He entertains using a unique combination of magic, rapid costume change, juggling, acrobatics, pickpocketing, and dog tricks. He's devoted his life to the art of crafting great performances.
I started magic when I was about 21 years old, and that's when I really got into performing. I went to Misdirection's magic shop where we're at right now, and Joe Pond, the owner, took me under his wing, and he was my mentor. It was a lot of the customers and clients that really supported me throughout the beginning, because my family wasn't really too supportive, because as an Asian and an artist, they think that you're going to starve. So my mom was saying, you got to get a desk job and do that and do this part-time, because you don't know if it's always going to come in. And that was actually a good advice. I actually thought more about exactly what I was doing. I worked at PayPal for a year while I was doing magic on the side, doing weekends. I'd call in sick occasionally in order to perform my magic, and that's how passionate I was. One of my highlights was performing in Sun Valley, Idaho. They had an Allen Company annual party, or a get-together of moguls and billionaires. Flew us out on a jet, and they kept us there for 3 days. The security was totally intense. They would not let us take pictures or anything. I saw Warren Buffett and Bill Gates out there, and a lot of other people, and they were coming and they were enjoying the show, and they appreciated what I did for them. Out in Lodi, California, I was driving back from an event. A police officer pulled me over, and the back of my car used to say Dan Chan, the Magic Man. He pulled me over, he said, Dan Chan, you're driving a little too fast, you gotta slow down. Can you make this ticket disappear? And I just didn't know what to say. He said, show me one good magic trick, I'll let you go. I had nothing on me, everything was in the trunk, and I was dressed up like a magician. I showed him one trick. I showed the officer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 $1 bills. I had him point to one of the dollar bills. He took it out to check it out front and back. With my sleeves rolled up, I blew on it and changed it into real $100 bills. And that's how I got out of my ticket. As an Asian entertainer, it's been quite difficult. There aren't many Asian magicians to look up to. There's probably 30 full-time magicians in the Bay Area, and there's probably only 2 or 3 that are Asian. Because of the fact that my mom would tell me, you can do this on the side. It's not something that you want to pursue. What are you going to do about retirement? What are you going to do about health care? As an entertainer, I pay for my own health care, which is quite expensive. I design my own business cards. I do my own video editing. I'm my own publicist. Everything that you expect other people to do for you, you don't have that in working capital. You have to do that yourself. And it's a labor of love. You have to really love it. I stay up until 3 a.m. a lot of times, editing videos, working on things. And when I go to conventions, I might not even sleep. I go to Vegas twice a year for either a World Magic Seminar or Magic Live. And at these conventions, I'm hanging out with David Copperfield, Lance Burton, Siegfried and Roy, and I'm talking to their consultants and the people that they're with. And I come to lectures at Joe's, and these are all things that I have to do on my own time and make time for. When I first started doing magic, I would do 5 events in a day, and it'd be so stressful. I'd drive up to 400 miles in a day. And good thing we have GPS now, because I use GPS all the time. It was MapQuest, GPS. I'd map everything, and I couldn't tell in the rainy weather or in the dark where to turn. And with GPS, you don't even have to read it. It just says turn in 0.5 miles. My business today is growing because I'm trying to put new things in. I'm putting in a costume change. I'm putting in this Bien Lian, which is a secret Chinese art form that I went to Malaysia to study, where the masks changes rapidly. And to be honest, it's a real Chinese secret. There was a pop star, Andy Lau, who wanted to learn how to do this. He paid a master $300,000 to learn how to do this, and the Chinese government made him give the money back. And this is something that has really interested me, because nowadays you can go into a magic store, you can download things online, or you can learn things and the information's there. But this is truly still a secret. And this is something that would differentiate me performing at Chinese festivals, and it makes a cultural connection back to who I am. Being able to do this thing that's uniquely Chinese, that was it's over 300 years old, that no one performs, and when you tell people about this, they don't even know what it is. And that's what true magic is about. It's about the surprise. Doing magic, it's taking me quite far. I've been able to perform in Mexico, Hawaii, and Japan. I've performed at a funeral, at a wake. I've performed in a hospital room for someone. So performing all around the world, the Magic Castle was a great highlight for me. I always dreamed about performing at the Magic Castle. The Magic Castle is a mecca for magicians. You can watch 7 unique shows of magic in a night, from bar shows to stage shows. They have a close-up room, and you can find people like Jason Alexander from Seinfeld there, Neil Patrick Harris, the Doogie Howser MD star there. And I got to run into all these people just because of magic. I think one of the things that makes my show unique is I do high technical skills, from the card manipulation to the juggling 3, 4, 5 balls. I end the show with a handstand push-up while yo-yo spins from my mouth. I do pickpocketing, and I actually steal watches, belts, wallets, neckties from people without them knowing it. I've had to take a couple of compromises that I'm not so proud of. So, like performing 5 shows in a day. I realized it's like flying an airplane. The hardest part is taking off. And with it taking off, being I'd only have 3 optimal shows in a day. And when I push myself to 4 or 5 shows, the last 2 shows wouldn't get as much out of it. And I did that only for a financial reason, because as an artist, you need to take it when it comes in, and there's gonna be slower days, there's gonna be slower months. And people would always want the same dates, like Halloween, Christmas. So on some months, I'd take a physical toll. I would sacrifice throwing out my back, my neck, carrying my case. And now I've gotten a lot smarter with things. I've told people to reserve a parking space up front for me. Librarians have become really creative. They've said, save a spot reserved for Dan Chan, the Magic Man. If you park here, your car will disappear. I've had kids help me move my equipment back to the car. Because after the show, you're like a superstar to them. I've been really successful even in this economy. I'm still doing 200+ shows a year. I'm hiring out other entertainers. I'm having fun with it. I'm doing larger and larger events. I enjoy the small events, but for visibility, I like doing the biggest events where there's 1,000 people in a school gymnasium. I've been to Japan 4 times performing, and I look to go back again this year to Japan for the US Marine Corps. They put you up in a theater, in a movie theater, and you can do your illusions on stage. So I get to do a little bit of a show that I don't get to do typically. Perhaps larger illusions. We have fancy sound and lighting. I get to bring a sound person with me. So that's some of the things that we can do in the future. I get to do things in a more controlled environment, like my floating table. Because in order to appreciate some of these things, you need to be in a theatrical setting. So I look to move into theaters, a little bit more on nightclubs, and more elegant events. Magic isn't for everybody, to be honest. It's only for a select few who don't mind working all the time. You'll have to work 16 hours a day if you want to make magic your life and if you want to be successful at it. Four aces. 1, 2, 3, 4. Collect these aces here. 1, 2, 3, 4 cards. Place them into the middle of the deck. The Ace of Hearts, if you want to get to a lady's heart, you're going to have to show them a diamond. The bigger the diamond, the better. That's what I tell the boys. What's on top, what's on the bottom? If you were to say either one, you'd be wrong. You can see, of course, we have the diamonds and heart there, and women are just quite confusing. I've been so singular as a magician that sometimes I've given up a lot for this art form. Skipping out on, unless it's a really, I still value my family and the priorities, but at the same time I've had to give up my Saturdays and Sundays to work because those are the days that people hire you the most. So when my mom's having a birthday party, unless it's a milestone party, I have given up on going there because those are the days that you're hired. And that's a personal sacrifice that I've made. Now, as I've become more successful, I've started taking time off for family vacations and going out with my family. And I really appreciate the fact that now that I'm successful, I can take 1 or 2 days out to sleep in until 10 or 11, enjoy the fact that I don't have to work in rush hour commute. And I'm trying to enjoy more of those liberties, getting lunch with my wife and 2 children. That's why I think I pushed myself so hard in the beginning, is so that I can enjoy it now.
For me, the key strategic insights of Dan Chan's success are: first, he grew his business while working full-time in a safe job. Secondly, he took all opportunities to perform and develop his mastery. Lastly, he continues to learn complementary new skills to the delight of his audience. Our next guests, Logan and Noah Miller, without a dime to their names nor a single meaningful contact in Hollywood, managed to write, produce, act, and direct a feature film in under a year, starring 4-time Academy Award-nominated actor Ed Harris. And in their spare time, they also wrote a book about the experience.
I played at Texas Tech for a year.
And I played at Southern Arkansas University, and things didn't really work out.
Flunked out.
Flunked out, yeah. Flunked out.
Flunked out, and then we went. I was playing with the Blue Jays at the time. Noah came and picked me up in Florida. I had just had surgery. They released me. Noah came and picked me up in Florida, and we drove back home, and worked with our dad, saved our money to go back down to Arizona for tryouts and try and get back into baseball.
Well, the passion for writing, I just think it was something that we grew into, really. Once baseball didn't work out, we had nothing to fall back on. We didn't want to go back home and be roofers. And we'd always loved telling stories orally, not writing them down. And we ran into this. First, we wanted to tell a story about us and our father, and then we ran into this guy who steered us towards Lou Hunter's 434, which is a screenwriting handbook. And it made sense, and so we started writing. On January 5th, 2006, our father died on the cement floor of a jail cell. He'd been in and out of jail over the past several years due to alcohol-related offenses, locked up this time since mid-December. He said nobody really messed with him in there because he was one of the oldest inmates, and the guys sort of respected him for that. He was also the resident artist. Our father spent his last Christmas and New Year's behind bars. His name was Daniel Arthur Miller. He was 59. Our dad had been homeless for the last 15 years, mostly living in his truck, until it was confiscated by the courts 10 months earlier. He'd been battling alcoholism his entire adult life and was now sleeping in a thicket of Scotch broom, his hideout, on a wooded hillside in Fairfax, a small town 20 miles north of San Francisco. We had given him a pager for Christmas years earlier so we could stay in touch. If we paid him and he didn't call back within a couple hours, he was either on a drinking binge or in jail. Otherwise, he was more reliable than Swiss time. He knew every payphone in the area. It was cold that week in November, the temperature dipping into the 20s. Early Monday morning, we found our dad walking down the road, hands in his pockets, hunched over, brutal after a night in the woods. He was wearing a thick down jacket and a backpack, incoherent, muttering to himself. We were supposed to meet him in town at 11 a.m. It was now 7 a.m. and we were happy to see him early, make a longer day out of it.
"Hey, Daddo," Logan yelled out the window as we pulled alongside him and stopped. "How you doing?" He was shivering. It took him a moment to recognize us. "Get in," Logan said. "We're going to have a great day." He got in our car. The skin under his eyes was swollen from the cold, leaves in his hair. There was no energy to him, no happiness, no warmth of life. He usually lit up when he saw us, but there was no light today. Tomorrow, he was going to start serving a 30-day sentence at the Sonoma County Jail. He'd never been in the Sonoma County Jail before and didn't know how he'd be treated. Didn't know if some young punk would mess with him or any of the other shit that can hit you in jail. He didn't know anybody in Sonoma County, and he was uneasy about it. "No worries, Daddo," we told him. Today was his day. We were going to spend some money on him, treat him to all the good stuff, whatever he wanted. But he said he couldn't spend the day with us, wasn't in the right state of mind to be around people, couldn't sit inside a dark movie theater. He was in a bad way, the worst we'd ever seen him, like an abandoned dog on a lonely street. We just wanted to hug him and tell him everything was going to be all right. Thought about the last time we saw him on that cold day in November and what he told us in the car just before we dropped him off. "I wish I could have been better boys to you growing up. I wish I could have been better to you boys growing up. I'm sorry that I wasn't. I've never been able to be there for you 100%, and I know I never will be. Thanks for never giving up on me." We tried to cheer him up. "We're going to start making movies, Dad. We're really close. We're going to do some great things together. Fishing in Alaska, camping in Montana, sailing the oceans like we've always dreamed. You just got to take better care of yourself." I know. Then we remembered a few months before that, the last time we visited him in jail. He lifted up his orange shirt, revealing his lean stomach, and hit his abs with his fist. "This is where you come to get fit. When are you going to make our movie?" "Soon, Dad, soon." "Who's going to play me? He's got to be good looking." Ed Harris. He always reminded us of our dad. "Yeah, he's good. I'll give him permission to be me. The sheriff will negotiate on my behalf." We all laughed. It was a jailhouse dream, an impossible dream, something to be accomplished in another lifetime when you could start over and make all the right decisions. Ed Harris was light years from our moment. Well, everyone told us we were nuts and insane, I think at first. We had... But we had a ton of help from people, coming on board. From Gordon Radley's is a former president of Lucasfilm. He's sort of been our mentor over the last 5 years, and
really helped us out.
Yeah, he really helped us. The way he sort of instructs you is he points you in the right direction, and then kicks you in the ass, and then of course all of our friends, our family, and then Jeremy Zajon, our producing partner. Jason Holthe is a very good friend of ours who's sort of kind of the brain. We had a tremendous team, tremendous team. Really tremendous team. Making movies is team art. You can't do it without a team. And so we made that sort of parallel between sports and filmmaking kind of early on, where we said, okay, this is team art. What do we need to do? We need to assemble the best team possible. How significant was Ed Harris coming on board and actually getting the movie made? And I mean, it was sort of the linchpin. I mean, without him, it's, so you can always say, well, if this hadn't happened, then that wouldn't have happened. But yeah, without him coming on board, it would have been, I don't know. Yeah, it might not happen. Yeah, I mean, it most certainly wouldn't have happened. And so, yeah, for him and he was taking a huge risk too. All we had shot was this little 2-minute trailer, and we had financed that on 17 credit cards, and so yeah. Yeah. So, and in a way, we thought that our pops was upstairs, working some magic or something. But yeah, if Ed hadn't come on board, I mean, I don't know, but it was absolutely crucial, and a little anecdote. It's in the book, so I'm not going to give all of it. Yeah. But Ed, after we talked to him in San Francisco, he took the script home, he read it. He said, I like it, let's get together, talk about when you guys are going to do this movie. And initially he couldn't find time to do it, and that's all in the book, so I'll skip that. But then finally when Ed was able to do it, he came up, and we drove out to the locations, and he said, "You guys know where we can grab a good burger?" And we said, "Yeah, this place, M&G's in Fairfax. We used to go there with our dad." And about halfway into our burgers, Ed said, "You know, I know what you guys are up against. You guys got a ton of pressure. You're under a ton of pressure." And he said, "Look, I just want you to know that I'm here to help you realize your dream."
And once he said that, I was like,
yeah, we couldn't have made the movie without the support of people from Fairfax West. It would have never been made. We simply could have.
And then a lot of sneaking around at night in the dark. True, that's true. You used to be able to get credit cards up until about a year and a half ago. We had a whole bunch of them. We still have a whole bunch of them. Actually, our credit's great because we went into huge debt and then paid them off.
And the thing that really inspired me about this book is its inspirational quality. It is, besides just being fun, it's also very, very moving about when you have an idea or a vision or something that you really want to accomplish, what it takes and how, even when things don't work, how you can tweak that idea and just continue to develop some other idea that most people would say that's impossible. You know, that's impossible. How could you make a movie? You don't know how to make a movie. You don't have money to make the movie. You know, how could you even go after your baseball dream? And they just continually went after their dreams. And that's the thing about reading the book that is so incredible for me. Just that push and that rousing kind of sensibility that, given how difficult life has been for them at times, very difficult, how they just decided this was something that we wanted to do. We want to make this movie, we want to honor our father, we want to learn these things, we want to read a lot more, we want to, get into film, we want to make a screenplay, and one thing after another, they just put their minds to it and went crazy and got going on this idea. And oh my God, here we are today.
We had no intention of ever writing a book, okay? Oh, sorry, not a book on this book, this one. Other books, yes, not this one. But so what happened is, once we were done shooting the movie and we got in the editing room, we started our schedule changed a little bit to where we could go down and have a cup of coffee in Fairfax or see some, maybe go into San Francisco or whatnot. And people would, they'd be like, "God, I haven't seen you guys in, a year. Your father passed away. I'm sorry to hear that. But you made a movie with that hair. What is going on?" So we would tell people the story of how we made our movie, and to the person, they'd be like, "You guys got to do something. That's your next movie." And we're like, "Well, we're just trying to finish our movie. Thanks for the idea." And then they'd be like, "Well, write a book or something." And we're like, "Oh, okay, sure, yeah. We're not busy." But so we kept hearing it, and then
this guy, he loves to overcommit us.
Yeah.
He started just saying, "Look, we got to write this book. We got to write this book." Our editor would show up at around 10:30, 11, and stay till 10:30, 11 at night. And Noah kept saying, "Look, if we write from 5:30 in the morning until Robert Dalvo, our editor, shows up," he said, "Look, we'll have a first draft in a few months, and we'll be glad that we did it. It's all fresh right now.
It's fresh, and it's all because as you'll see as what we learned. Well, I don't even know if we learned it, but what we did is to get every person on board. You retell the story where you started up to where they fit in. And so the book, by the end of it, we would pitch someone and it would take an hour, right? Because you're talking about everything you'll hear in the book. And so the book was in our head, and so we puked it out. Like, we don't even remember. No, I'm serious. I don't even remember writing the first draft. Don't even remember it.
Because it was crazy. Because we really weren't sleeping much. We weren't sleeping much at all. At all.
I remember writing it, but I don't remember writing any specific. Unlike the screenplays that we've written, I can tell you days where we came up with the dialogue, where we were at, and this and that. But with this, we just threw it out. Maybe that's why it's got the real short sentences with no vocabulary whatsoever.
It's a benefit that we have each other because as far as relationships are concerned, we're always looking out for each other, and you always try to be very considerate and patient with each other. So patience is probably the most difficult, but you try to be thoughtful and aware of what he's what's going on with him, and we try to do that with our friends as well. So. Our goals right now is to to get this book on the bestseller list, and we have no idea how you do that, other than sell a lot of books.
Yeah.
So we'll do our best to sell as many books, and then to get the movie theatrically distributed. And we have 11 other screenplays that we've written, so we'd like to make one of them next. Yeah. So, how we're gonna do that? It's just the same way we started this, and it's kind of when we get up each morning, we kind of try and figure out how we're gonna do whatever we're gonna do.
Tenacity. You got to be tough. You got to just persevere and just keep going. Just keep going and going and going.
Yeah, just keep going. And you figure it out along the way. I think too, a lot of times people they don't embark on some sort of project or any sort of undertaking because they feel they're not prepared enough, to begin. But the thing is that you learn as you move along. You're never going to be prepared enough. That's just something that you can always talk yourself out of reasons, for not doing something because you're not prepared enough. So you're never going to be. You just got to go after it and learn along the way and adapt and improvise. I just say go after your dream and don't let anybody tell you can't do it. I mean that's the only advice we have is really just to even when you believe in where you're going. And you don't need to believe like moment by moment. There's going to be all this self-doubt and insecurity that sets in, that's gonna plague you along the way. But it's as long as you don't let it prevent you from moving forward.
For me, the key strategic insights of Logan and Noah Miller's success are: first, they mined their childhood experiences to weave an inspiring story. Secondly, they work together as a seamless team, willing to learn new skills as needed. And lastly, their tenacity to see what could be inspired others to enthusiastically join them. By being single-minded about their dreams, today's guests were able to achieve odds-defying success. I hope that this episode has given you many good ideas for increasing your business with passion.